skills. And man, in all reality, I think this is probably easier right now in my current family stage of life than it will be in the future. I hope I'm not projecting or manifesting, but I feel like it'll be harder in the future because right now the traditional skills, again, at least from a family standpoint, with the sprinkling of man, is super easy because the kids always want to help. I'm blowing up tires on a bike. Hey, can I help? Absolutely. Hey, I'm putting together a grill. Can I help, Daddy? When your kids help you, things take longer. But maybe they're supposed to. What the hell's going on out here? All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fueled by Spite. As always, I'm your host, Dr. James Taylor. Today's episode brought to you by ChatGPT. No financial implications were made. So why is it brought to you by ChatGPT? One, because I've been playing around with it. Number two, what this is today, this is the traditional man today. So as time goes along, as one would say, as time goes along, there are things that we're brought up with, that were taught as kids or young adults, um, values, social norms, just things that shit we do. We live, right? All of us do. And there are things that are passed on from us from generation to generation. Side note, it's one of the weirder things that I've come across is the fact that as time passes, and you notice people, this really hit a height in the pandemic. People became isolated, um, for their own, not for their own good, whatever. People became isolated. There's no point in going down that rabbit hole. But the interactions that people have nowadays, with other people are fewer and further between, and they are increasingly awkward or just borderline uncomfortable, especially for the youth, if you will. They're not they're not indoctrinated into how to interact with people, and as such, a lot of our a lot of our traditions are at risk of being lost simply because some of our traditions involve the interactions with other people. But I digress ever so slightly. What I want to do today is I want to talk about holding on to some of those things, at least from my perspective. Because man, as much as the internet gives everyone a voice, we really only have our own perspective as far as all this stuff works out. So, how does a high achieving man or woman, but in this case, man, because that's what I am. It's not who I identify. It is just what I am. Um, how does a high achieving person balance life? How do you, man, how how do you get through it? How do you do it all? I've been doing some work in the office here. I've been culling the herd, if you will. We don't see as many people as we used to, and that is by design because the people that we do see now, I like you more. If you're a patient listening to this and you still come to see me, thank you. I like you. If you're a former patient and you don't come to see me, I'm okay with that. Because what we've done is we've cultivated, curated might even be a better word, a better patient base. Because one of the great things about any sort of career path, especially if it's in the service-based industry, is when you deal with people, it's a whole lot easier to deal with people that you like and that are like you. So ChatGPT, help me figure out what my ideal patient is, what my ideal client is, as it refers to Fueled by Spite, what my ideal listener is. So lots of questions, lots of homework and self-study in that. And now that we've got an avatar of the person who takes the least amount of energy for me to help, not in the not in the depth of their problem or their issue or their chief complaint or their goals, but just the people that it's easiest for me to work with, what do they want to know about? So I'm assuming that if you're listening to this, you like me. And I probably like you. So let's get into it here. What does somebody like me need to do to balance strength and vulnerability? Man, we're getting right into it. So I will tell you right now, this is number one because this is the one of the bigger things I personally have been working on lately is balancing strength and vulnerability, dot, 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 and try not to be an asshole while doing it. So it's important for us to be both, for us to wear both hats, play both roles from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from a management standpoint, from a husband standpoint, from a father standpoint. There has to be, coming from the male standpoint, there has to be um, a modicum of strength. There has to be something that you present, that you put out there. In the traditional sense, as we're speaking here, we are providers, right? We are protectors. So, what do we do to accomplish those things? But at the same time, being a modern man, if you will, a Renaissance man, there's got to be an act of vulnerability in there from time to time. So, the first part, man, I've got down cold. Hell, that last part, being an asshole, I'm pretty good at that too when I need to be. But it's the vulnerability part. And I will tell you why, from my personal standpoint, why being vulnerable is hard is because based on the thoughts I've generated and have up here and have been taught, to the very least that I have, as far as I've ascertained, strength and vulnerability are the antithesis of each other. Now I know that's not entirely true through my work and study, but that's the thing that I'm fighting personally is, well, if I'm vulnerable, I'm not strong. Or if I'm strong, then I can't be vulnerable. And as time goes on, like there is strength in vulnerability, not to be all granola e and woohoo and woo woo, but there is absolutely strength in vulnerability because what is vulnerability? It is literally letting people know where you stand when you're not standing in the place that you want to be. That's vulnerability. You made me feel bad. You hurt my feelings. I didn't like what you said. That is vulnerability. Um, and it it flies in the face, as far as I understand it, of the traditional man in that, well, if it bothers you, then just don't let it. Well, I can absolutely do that. I can do that with the best of them. I can let things roll off my back. But in situations where you're going to be in relationships with repeated contact, there needs to be that vulnerability because otherwise we will have the situations where you weren't vulnerable in that you told someone that they were irritating you or they were doing something that you didn't like or that you were in a bad place at the moment in time. You didn't tell them that, so you held on to it. And then going on down the road, to touch back on a previous podcast, then all of a sudden you get in this huge fight in front of your kids because someone wanted the wall painted green and someone didn't want the wall painted green. And the person who didn't want the wall painted green didn't tell the person who did want the wall painted green. So the wall got painted green. And the person who didn't want the wall painted green got pissed. But they held on to it until 5 years down the road. And then it's some late night on a Saturday after a couple Captain Morgans. And all of a sudden we're blowing up because the wall's painted green because someone wasn't vulnerable. Number two, building and leading a family as it relates to being an entrepreneur. They are 100% one and the same. I had the unfortunate incident recently of trying to build a staff member and giving ample opportunities to this vulnerability that we just addressed here. Uh, and man, it didn't work out. So there's a certain threshold, both metaphorical and physical, in this office. You come across the threshold to the front door, whatever's going on outside there stays outside there. And I don't think that's a tall order. I don't think that's a much to ask. If you've got shit going on outside of here, you can't bring it in here. It's just a simple matter of fact. And the same thing works at home because we're talking about entrepreneurship and building a family. Whatever's going on at the office, you can't bring home. You can't let shit that goes down here affect you at the dinner table or vice versa, regardless of how big or heavy it is. Now, if it is excessively big and heavy and it's weighing on you, we need to fall back into that vulnerability and let the people who are outside of those situations know that, hey, I got some shit going on that I'm dealing with. So I apologize if I'm not the best to work with right now. Or I apologize if I'm not the best husband or father right now because of some stuff that's going on at the office. These things go back and forth. It comes down to that communication. And again, man, that vulnerability. This might be a common thread here. I didn't necessarily intend it to be with this outline, but building and leading a family is just like building and leading an office. There's that communication that needs to happen. There is that give and take. But how do I do one if I need to do the other or vice versa? Couple of applicable tips right now. Man, get yourself a quality babysitter. As I'm recording this, my wife is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm at the office. Notice that it's quiet here. Why? Because the kids aren't here. Why? Because we have got a stable of quality babysitters. Number two here, man, get up early. Because in being the family man and the entrepreneur, where do you get to be the man? Where do you get to be yourself? Where do you get to be the woman? One of the easiest places that I personally found to do that is in the morning. Don't let the sun catch you sleeping. My alarms go off at they start at 3:45, so that way I'm out of bed by 4:15. I'm at the gym at 4:30. That's my time. My time is before the sun wakes up. My time is before my family wakes up. And so the importance of all this in that it gives me time for me. But it also provides my kids with the opportunity to catch me. And today was a perfect example. Like I said, wife's out of town, so I can't go to the gym in the morning because apparently you can't leave a 5 and a 7-year-old at home alone, even if they're sleeping. Whatever. Anyway, so we went to bed last night and I tell them, hey kids, if you wake up in the morning and I'm not here, go to the garage because daddy's working out in the garage. So I get up, I'm working out, swinging some kettlebells, one of my favorite exercise activities, because the garage door open. And Frankie comes walking in. Daddy, you working out? Sure am. Daddy, can I work out with you? Hell yeah. I got a tiny little kettlebell. I gave it to her. I tried to teach her how to swing it. But what did she do? She caught me during my time. But what was I doing during my time? I was working out. I was making myself better. They say more is caught than taught. Frankie got taught a shitty way to swing a kettlebell today, but she caught something awesome. It's a whole lot better than having them catch you scrolling on your phone. Ooh, here's a good one. Financial responsibility. This is one thing. The one thing that the modern man can do for financial responsibility is to make sure that you are checking your accounts every day. If you got one, check the one. But you shouldn't have one. I'll tell you right, you shouldn't have one account. You should have two. You should have a checking and a savings at bare minimum. It's like, well, saving money is losing value. Yeah, technically that's true. But at the same time, I mean, if that's all you've got to work with right now, you need to pay yourself first. 10% of everything you own, 15% now. Thanks a lot, Biden. 15% of everything you earn is yours to keep. Keep it. Make it work for you. If you're gonna put it in the savings account, cool, that's fine. But if you've got other options, and man, there are plenty of options out there for you to stow away 15% of your income. But make sure you check it daily. Have, man, just absolutely tight disciplines on where this money is going, what it's used for. Heck, set up multiple savings accounts. We're going to Disney next week. It ain't cheap. I saved for that trip, and that was its own account. And now that's all paid for, that account's closed. Skills. This is a fantastic one. And man, in all reality, I think this is probably easier right now in my current family stage of life than it will be in the future. I hope I'm not projecting or manifesting, but I feel like it'll be harder in the future because right now the traditional skills, again, at least from a family standpoint, with the sprinkling of man, is super easy because the kids always want to help. I'm blowing up tires on a bike. Hey, can I help? Absolutely. Hey, I'm putting together a grill. Can I help, Daddy? You sure can. I'm putting together an office or a podcast studio. Hey, Daddy, can I help you? Yes, I would love for you to help me. But they're also playing. I'm cooking dinner. Hey, Daddy, can I help? Man, not right now. Daddy likes bacon a whole lot, so there's a lot of grease splattering everywhere. When your kids help you, things take longer. But maybe they're supposed to. Like I said, I think it's really easy right now to instill these traditional skills, these work ethics, these doing things with your hands, doing things because you can. Because I can pay, man, like I can pay for a lot of this stuff to be done, but then they then they won't learn nothing. And my hope is that at this point in time right now, when they're like, "Hey, daddy, can I help?" When I say yes, when they're 10, 11, 12, they still ask, "Hey, daddy, can I help?" When they're 15, 16, 17, "Hey, daddy, can I help?" I hope that happens. But I know right now they love to help. So I'm going to let them do it because they will learn to do these things in on their own. Man, fingers crossed. Next one here, emotional intelligence. This goes back to the strength and vulnerability things. It's hard to do because especially like we are raised in a certain household with a certain way and a certain train of thought, but sometimes don't those aren't always as beneficial in every stage and aspect of life. I've said it before on here. I have three fantastic emotions: happy, mad, and sad. That's my wheelhouse. It's the trifecta, if you will. And I don't do the sad part very well at all. Sad turns into mad very quickly. But why? Why does it do that? Is because that's the pathway that it's been ingrained. I mean, our brain strives for efficiency, right? Perfect example, you don't see your nose. But if you're listening and watching this, I bet you kind of see it now because your brain ignores it. It is inefficient for your brain to spend energy knowing that your nose is there, it is in your visual field. It's inefficient to spend energy on that knowledge. So it just ignores it. It trusts that it's still there. Same thing with your emotional patterns and your emotional responses. The stuff that you do most often gets ingrained. The emotional responses that you have most often get ingrained, sometimes to our detriment. The best way to get around that is to catch yourself after the fact. Because odds are you're probably not emotionally intelligent. I know I'm not. You're probably not emotionally intelligent enough to catch yourself in the act while you're doing it. But to go back to review situations, it's literally we do it all the time. You get into an argument and you leave, and 15 minutes later, like, fuck, I should have said that. That would have got her or him. But no, these things are just they're things that need to be reviewed. And then once you can kind of figure out these habits that you have, the next step, again, we're going to come straight from a traditional man standpoint, is when you realize you're in that situation, when it happens in the future, having the balls to stand up and say something. That's the truly hard part. Next, discipline and self-control. I mean, shoot, that's more of the same as far as that emotional intelligence thing. But one thing that I heard from Tony Robbins a while back that I absolutely love and I repeat to myself relatively routinely is I don't negotiate with myself. I have to negotiate with other people because there's two minds, there's two bodies, there's two beings involved in whatever situation or relationship that is. But when it comes to myself, and the betterment of myself. Betterment is hard. Betterment takes discipline and energy. But if it's something I truly want, I don't negotiate with myself. I drive past McDonald's because you know what? If you ever taken if you got a cheat day coming up, just give me a just do this. Take a McDouble, get a McDouble and a McChicken. Take off the bottom buns on each. Put the nasty burgers next to the nasty chicken patty, and then and get the McChicken with mac sauce on it. Take off the bottom buns, put them together. One bite. Man, it is heaven. But I don't do that as often as I want to. Because I don't negotiate with myself. Goes right back to what I was saying before. You don't let the sun catch you sleeping either. There is always more time in the morning. Mentorship and legacy. Number 8 here. I think it's 8. This was spawned from Frankie this morning. Hey, if I'm not here when you wake up, I'm going to be in the garage working out. Cool. She comes in the garage. She sees me working out. I mean, hell, lately, like Calvin started holding doors for people. It's awesome. More is truly caught than taught. But when they're doing these things, when you see them catch you, let them know why. Let them know why you're doing these things. And this is a wonderful segue into work-life balance. I've touched on this in the past. Work-life balance is complete and utter bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. You're not going to balance any of these things. But you can absolutely have work-life harmony. The fact that this podcast, this particular episode, is being recorded right now is because of a magnificent culmination of work-life harmony. A couple days ago, Tamika goes, "Hey, can I go to South Sioux Falls, South Dakota?" Yeah, sure. Go get that money, babe. Go get it. Perfect. So she books the plane tickets. I text Jada, "Hey, you got time on Saturday?" And if Jada said no, I'd text 3 or 4 other people. She goes, "Yep, I got time on Saturday." Cool. I'm going to need you for a couple hours so I can come to the office, get some work done. So wife goes off. She asked me for permission? We've all been in that situation. I could have said no, and she would have obliged. But I've got no good reason to say no. Is it inconvenient? Sure is. But hey, when I was building this thing and I was here till all hours of the night, was that inconvenient for her? It sure fucking was. So this is the harmony. This is, hey, honey, can I go? In parentheses, I'm going to go. Yes, you sure can. Go do your thing. Go build your empire. Hey, Jada, can you watch the kids? Yep, I'm available. Perfect. Cool. Hey, kids, we're going to wake up early. Daddy's going to go work out. If you're missing him, he's in the garage. Catch me in the garage. Sweet. I get done. Hey, it's breakfast time. You know where we haven't been in a while? Cupcake pancake place. What's that? That's IHOP. Why? Because 3 years ago we went there. Frankie got the cupcake pancakes. It's been cupcake pancake place ever since. We did an awesome thing. We went to the park for an hour or so. We spent quality time together. Hey, Jada's going to come now. She's going to watch you for a few hours. You guys be good. I miss mommy. You know what? So do I. You know, mommy's off doing great things right now. And has mommy always come back? She sure has. So there's the babysitter right now. I'm getting work done. Wife's getting work done. She'll be back home tomorrow. We might catch a Rangers game tonight. So we get all this stuff done. But like, you don't spend time with your kids. The fuck I don't. We spent an hour and a half at the park today. Because I tell you right now, you spend 2 minutes a day with your kids, minimum, every single day. And when I say with them, I mean doing stuff with them. Playing video games, not necessarily doing stuff. Watching TV definitely doesn't constitute doing stuff. But spend 2 to 5 quality minutes playing with your kids every day, talking to your wife every day, and that will trump a week of ignoring them and trying to make it up in 2 hours on a Saturday. That is the traditional man today. Because I'm still getting it all done, still providing, still building a legacy for my family, still raising 2 fantastic kids and living in a wonderful marriage with all the shit that's going on with people snapping tails to their belt buckles and pretending to be, or belts and pretend to be animals and not knowing what bathroom to use. It's a good life. I'm going to keep it going. As always, like I said, you will learn more here by accident than elsewhere by design. Real quick, too, make sure you are following us on Instagram at Spiteful Success. Check out Aspire Chiropractic's page on Instagram. That's my chiropractic office at Aspire Chiro DFW. We're also on TikTok and all that stuff. We just dropped $400 worth of stuff on the list. Make sure you're following that. We do that through this thing every single week. Not always 400. Starts with 100. You don't get it. Somebody else picks it up, then it's 2. They don't pick it up, then it's 3. Dropping $400 worth of stuff to all these local places around here. So make sure you're on the list. Follow us on all your socials. Before all this happened, you could have been in one of 2 places. You were either A, an idiot, or B, you were uninformed. I can tell you right now, if you paid any modicum of attention to this, you are no longer uninformed. Like this, share this, follow this. Check out the past episode of Fueled by Spite with Cody. That thing was a trip. Man, this is good fun. You guys have a great rest of your day. I appreciate your time. Here's to tradition. See ya.